Hello everyone and welcome to my latest book video. I'm excited to be doing my big Christmas book gift guide for this year. I always enjoy putting these videos together. It's so much fun for me to look back on the year of books and pull out a few that I've especially loved from the year and that I think would make incredible Christmas gifts. So I've got some gifts for stocking stuffers, for people who love cooking and gardening and nature writing, some great mysteries, and a few others that I think are spectacular books from this year. So let's get going with my Christmas book gift guide. First up, I want to share some books that I think would make lovely stocking stuffers. So I've gone for some small-sized books, and one that I've been really enjoying through the year is this A Year in Story and Song by Leah Leendertz. I always really like her almanacs. I generally get those each year, but this is a little bit different, and it's nice to give something that's a bit different sometimes. And if you know someone who loves seasonal reading, who loves folklore, then I think this would be a great gift. It features lots of songs and different folk stories, and I find it a really lovely little read. Next, I adore Slightly Foxed. They do such wonderful books, and their books are really nice kind of pocket sizes and would be great to fit into a Christmas stocking. You know how much I love the Countryman's Notebooks by Adrian Bell. These are seasonal collections of Adrian Bell's writing about farm life and nature, and I really enjoy them. Slightly Foxed have done one for all the seasons, winter, spring, summer, and then the latest one that they've just brought out is autumn. They're also selling these as a really lovely little gift set in a slip case, which has all 4 volumes, and I think that that's a really lovely gift as well. But you could also get just one of them for a Christmas stocking, and I've been really enjoying the Autumn Notebook. It's very special. Now, this book was actually published in 2023, but I only discovered it this year, and I've been really enjoying it. It's Let the Light Pour In, Morning Poems by Lem Sissay. And this is such a delightful little poetry book. Each of the poems are really very short, but you know how much I love reading a poem in the morning, and these often lift my mood or are thought-provoking in some way, and they're just lovely little gems to start each day. So I really recommend this little poetry book. If you want to bring a smile to someone's face every morning, then a lot of these poems are so lovely. So this is one I would really recommend to slip into a Christmas stocking. And then a bit more poetry, because I do love my poetry books. This is a nice little poetry book too, called 100 Happy Poems, edited by Jane McMorland Hunter. Again, I do love poetry that brings a smile to my face, and I think this is a real gem of a poetry collection. It's filled with lovely poems. I've discovered lots of treasures in this one. And it's just a nice, handy little size for the bedside table too. So another poetry book that I think would be lovely for a Christmas stocking. And then I've spoken before about how much I love these instead of a card poetry anthologies. I think for Christmas gifts this year, either this almanac, so that's 12 poems for each month of 2025. I think this would be a lovely poetry collection to give someone. Or this Christmas music, 10 poems of comfort and joy would also be really lovely. I think these are just so attractive. They're really nice, tiny little poetry anthologies, but they're such a nice idea to give as little gifts and would be great in a Christmas stocking. Now, of course, I also want to really recommend my Substack, Seasons of Story, where I share weekly content. My mum also shares content for it, and I share lots of extra material, like my Seasons of Classic book club, where we all come together to discuss a classic book every quarter of the year. I share little podcast episodes with my mum where we chat about the books that we've been reading, and I just share a lot of weekly written content that's exclusive to my Seasons of Story community. I think that a gift membership for Seasons of Story would be a wonderful gift for any bookworms in your life, or for people who love to live seasonally and be inspired by the seasons. And I have created some images, which I'll link to down below, where you can go and download any of the images that take your fancy, and you can either email that to someone when you also give them a gift membership for Seasons of Story, or you could print out one of the images and include it in a gift card for someone that you're gifting the membership to. So do have a think about that as well. But now let's move on to more books. Okay, so now I want to share some fiction books that I think would make wonderful Christmas presents. When I'm thinking about fictional books to give people at Christmas, I tend to think of books that I myself would love to read on Christmas Day, or in that quiet period between Christmas and New Year's. So I've rounded up a few books that I think would be especially lovely for that cozy time around Christmas. I always do love a Christmas mystery, and I'm generally a big fan of the British Library Crime Classic series, and they have a new one out called Dramatic Murder, a Lost Christmas Murder Mystery by Elizabeth Anthony. And this is one that I want to read myself over the Christmas holidays, and I think it would be a wonderful gift for anyone you know who loves a bit of golden age crime. With a Christmas twist, I think that this would be perfect Christmas reading. For something a bit gentler, I would recommend Mrs. Miniver by Jan Struther. Persephone Books just recently republished Mrs. Miniver in their attractive classic grey edition, with the lovely M papers that are from the original edition of Mrs. Miniver. And I recently reread this. It had been years since I read this, and I just read it again the other week and absolutely loved it. It was the sort of perfect bedtime reading book. This is full of the original articles or short stories about Mrs. Miniver that Jan Struther wrote for The Times from about 1937 through to the outbreak of war. They're little vignettes of happy family life. Each one is really quite short, so it's a perfect book to pick up at night time and just to read something soothing before going to bed. I really enjoyed it, and I think this would be a lovely book for anyone to enjoy over the Christmas holidays as well. Before my next book recommendation, I wanted to tell you about my offer code for Serious Readers. I'm so pleased to say that Serious Readers are very kindly sponsoring today's video. As you know, I'm a huge fan of their reading lights. I use my high definition floor light all the time, and I also think that these lights would make an amazing Christmas present for any bookworms in your life, including yourself. So I'm so pleased to have an offer code to share with you today. My offer code is Miranda, all capital letters, Miranda24. And if you use that offer code, you will get £100 off any of the high definition lights by Serious Readers, as well as free shipping within the UK. The evenings are so much longer and darker now that we're well into November, and this means that I'm even more thankful for my Serious light. I've owned this light for 2 years now, and it has honestly made such a wonderful difference to my reading life. I live in a really old house which is quite dark, and there also aren't very many sockets in the walls where I can plug in lights. So for that reason, I chose that high definition cordless floor light. And I love this light because it means I can just pick it up and carry it to wherever I want to read, whichever room in the house I want to read in. And that is so convenient for me because it means that even if a room is rather dimly lit, I can still enjoy reading my book wherever I want to in my home without having to worry about eye strain, and that has been such a life changer for me. The amazing light quality of the Serious lights is another reason that I love my light so much. The high definition lights by serious readers feature something called daylight wavelength technology. And this essentially replicates the daylight spectrum as closely as technically possible. So when I'm reading with my serious light, I feel as if I'm reading in a pool of natural light, or at least as close to natural light as you can get. And again, this really helps me to avoid eye strain and makes reading such a pleasant experience, even on a very long, dark evening. I also love that I can adjust the brightness levels of the light as well as the width of the beam of the light, so I get just the right amount of light that's good for me. So if you also would love a really great reading light, then do take advantage of my offer code. Again, that is Miranda, all capital letters, Miranda24. And if you use that offer code, you get £100 off any of the high definition lights, as well as free shipping in the UK. I'll put all of the details of my offer code and also the relevant link in the video description box just down below, so be sure to check out all the information there. But now let's get back to my video. Another book that is a real classic to read at Christmas time. It's one of my favourite stories, and that's The Children of Green Know by Lucy M. Boston. This special 70th anniversary edition of the book was just recently republished by Faber, and it's gorgeous. I love that cover, and what's even more special, one, the end papers. I think those are so adorable. But the other thing is that this edition has the original illustrations by Peter Boston, who is Lucy Boston's son. And you may remember that Mum and I visited the original Green Know, the house that Lucy Boston lived in and that inspired her famous children's book series all about Green Know. We visited the original house over the summer and were taken around it by Lucy Boston's daughter-in-law, and it was such a magical experience. And Diana Boston told us about this edition that was coming out. We were so excited about it. And she said that what was really important to her husband, Peter, the illustrator, was that these illustrations carried all the way to the end of the page, that there wasn't a sort of white border around it. But apparently that's very difficult to do when printing books, but Faber did do it for this 70th anniversary edition. So I'm so thrilled that they did, and it's just, yes, really delightful to look at these gorgeous illustrations. They're just so atmospheric, and this is a lovely Christmas read. It is a children's book, but it's one that adults love and return to as well, and it's set over very magical Christmas holidays which a young boy spends with his grandmother in this incredible old house, and he starts to realize that the past is very much always a part of the present, and the children that have lived in the house in generations before still occupy it in some way. So it's a book full of magic and charm, and also the enchantment of Christmas. I absolutely love it, and I just love this special edition. Talking of special editions, I also want to recommend this gorgeous edition of Anne of Green Gables. I love this series that is so cleverly curated by Barbara Heller. She does an amazing job at creating all these special little inserts that go into the book. So there are original letters by the characters. This is a letter from Anne to Diana, and I just love the attention to detail that's given. I know Barbara Heller puts a lot of thought into imagining what the character's handwriting would look like, the type of paper that would be used. It's all designed to look a bit old as well, and it just is amazing. I think it really adds so much to a favourite book, and I adore Anne of Green Gables. So having this special edition, which features the characters' letters and mementos written and folded by hand, is lovely. They're tucked into the book in these little envelopes here, and I just love it. This year marks 150 years of Ellen Montgomery's birth. It's the 150th anniversary of her birth, so having a special edition of Anne of Green Gables for any of the Anne fans in your life, I think would make a spectacular Christmas gift. And then I'm a huge fan of Wendy Cope. I absolutely adore her poetry, and this year Faber published a very special edition of the collected poems of Wendy Cope. I think this is gorgeous, and again, thinking of a book that's just lovely to dip into over the Christmas holidays. Well, you know how much I love poetry anthologies, and for anyone who's also a fan of Wendy Cope, this would make a spectacular gift and something that they're bound to enjoy over the holidays. So another lovely book from this year. And then I wanted to share a few fun mysteries that came out in 2024 and that I think will make wonderful Christmas gifts for anyone who loves a good mystery. Like I've already said, I love to read a mystery over the Christmas holidays. It's the perfect kind of cozy read. So I've gone for a few cozy mysteries. So one that I'm reading right now, I haven't quite finished, but I'm actually really enjoying this one, is We Solve Murders by Richard Osman. This is a brand new series by him. I have read The Thursday Murder Club, the first book in that series by him. I wasn't wild about that, I have to admit, but my mum recently read this one, the first in a brand new series, and she really liked it, so I thought I'd give it a go. And I'm actually really enjoying it. It's hugely fun. I love the relationship between the two main characters. It's a relationship between a father-in-law and his daughter-in-law. And that's a bit different and definitely quite unique, I think, in the sort of crime-solving duo of mysteries. And I'm really enjoying it. And it's just quite funny. All of the characters are strong in this book. It's more of a thriller than a mystery, and I'm actually quite enjoying that too. I think Richard Osman does that really well. So I would definitely recommend giving this a go, but it would make a great Christmas present too. And then a couple of other mysteries I've really enjoyed this year are The Potting Shed Murder by Paula Sutton. This is a especially great one for anyone in your life who appreciates gardens as well as good mysteries. And then another one that I've really enjoyed is Deers for Death by Harriet F. Townsend. So these two are more sort of modern mysteries, but they have a bit of that cozy feel. And then this one is set during the 1930s, and there are lots of nods to Golden Age crime in this one. I also love the setting of the London Library that's really important in this mystery. So that definitely ticks a lot of boxes for me. But now let's move on to some non-fiction books. So first up in my non-fiction recommendations is this gorgeous new book by Nigel Slater, 1,000 Feasts, Small Moments of Joy, a memoir of sorts. I've been dipping in and out of this over the past few weeks and I'm so enjoying it. Nigel Slater is an incredible writer. This isn't a typical book from him in that there aren't any recipes included, but I just love his musings about life, about food, about travel, his different experiences. I could always read anything by Nigel Slater, and I really love this book, and I love the idea behind it, which is very much about always trying to see the positive, being grateful, and appreciating life's small pleasures, whether that's a deliciously ripe mango or it's just a simple pleasure like mixing up a cake mix. I find this a really inspiring and delightful book, and I think it would make a wonderful Christmas gift. And then I have a little pile of books for nature lovers here, and There are a couple real standout reads for me from this year in the nature writing category. The first one is Raising Hair by Chloe Dalton. I just adored this book. I thought it was so beautifully written, and I was amazed, in fact, that this was a debut book, because I think Chloe Dalton is such a strong writer. It's a remarkable true story about her experience during lockdown when she left her frenetic life in London for the countryside, and there one day she discovered a baby hare, a leveret, that she feared was in danger of dying if she didn't take care of it. So she brought it into her home and helped to raise this wild creature. What I loved about this book was how sensitive Chloe was to the hare, to its wild nature, and she never wanted to try to tame or domesticate this hare in any way. And she brought it up in a way that it could, in fact, participate in the wild and live a proper life as a wild creature. But at the same time, she developed this incredible relationship with this wild animal, and it taught her so much about herself, about nature and the world around her, about humans can better coexist with nature, and it also taught her a lot more about hares too. This was such a fascinating and charming read, and for any nature lovers in your life, I think they would love it too. And then another standout read from this category for me has been The Place of Tides by James Rebanks. This is a bit of an atypical book from James Rebanks. Normally he's writing about his life as a farmer and shepherd in the Lake District. This book tells of a time when he spent a few months over the spring and summer in Norway on a very isolated island with one of Norway's last duck women, an amazing woman called Anna, who takes care of eider ducks in the springtime when they come and nest on these islands. I just thought this was such a beautifully written book, as well as being a truly fascinating read. I learned so much about a place and a way of living that I never knew anything about, and I found it just an amazing read. So another one that I highly recommend. And then this is quite a charming little book for any wildlife lovers in your life, and that's The Wildlife Year by Sally Coulthard, and it says how to reconnect with nature in every season. So if you want to reconnect with nature, or you know someone who is maybe trying to reconnect, then this is a lovely book. It's full of little joys from nature for each season. It's beautifully illustrated, and it just has some interesting information about the natural world, but it's written in a very approachable and lovely way, and I do love the gorgeous illustrations in this one too. Next is a book that I've been enjoying dipping into lately. This is Under the Changing Skies, and it's a collected anthology of the best of the Guardian's country diary. I've always enjoyed reading the country diary columns in The Guardian. They're by different nature writers who contribute their thoughts and little nature diaries through the year. And I really do love this collection. If you're not familiar with this column, then this would be a good place to start, sort of get the best of the nature diaries. But it's also great for people who are already readers of the country diaries featured in The Guardian. And again, it's just a lovely book for nature lovers too. Now, this is a book that I haven't read yet, but it's on my to-be-read pile, and I'm really excited about it because I'm a big fan of John Lewis Stemple's writing. This is a whopper of a book by him, England and Natural History. That's a huge topic for him to tackle, but he's the person to do it. I absolutely adore his nature writing always, and I think that this looks like a wonderful book. So I can't wait to dive into this one soon too. And for anyone you know who loves John Lewis Stemple's writing, then I think his latest book really looks like a must read. So I'm very excited about this one. And then finally, I'm such a fan of Angela Harding's beautiful artwork. I just adore it, and I always get her calendar for every year that hangs in my kitchen, and I love her artwork so much. But I'm a big fan of her books as well, which are kind of a blend between art journal, diary, and a bit of nature writing too. And they're really beautiful books. This is the latest one by her, Still Waters and Wild Waves. And it features a lot of her waterside and coastal art drawings, and they're just stunning. There's also some of her own photography in the book, capturing the wildlife around her and on her travels. And it's just a wonderful read, as well as a really beautiful book to look through. I've always found her books so inspiring. They're little examples of her sketchbook too. So anyone who you know who loves drawing as well as nature, who's interested in art and illustration and is an Angela Harding fan, then this will make a spectacular gift. Now, the next book I want to recommend, I don't actually have yet myself, so I'll put a picture of it up here. I've ordered it and it hasn't arrived yet, but I'm so excited for it. And that is a new biography of Ronald Blythe. It's called Blly Spirit by Ian Collins. I adore Ronald Blythe's writing. I know many of you do as well. And I'm very excited for this biography. I'm really looking forward to finding out a bit more about his life, and this just looks like a wonderful read. So as a Christmas gift to yourself, if you're also a fan of Ronald Blythe's writing, or if you know anyone else who is, I think this would make a marvelous Christmas gift. Next up, another book that I've been reading slowly and really enjoying is The Mysterious Case of the Victorian Female Detective by Sarah Lodge. This is all about real life female detectives in Victorian society, and it is such an engrossing and fascinating read. If you know anyone who loves mystery or who loves social history, looking at women's lives in particular, then this is a great book and one that I would really recommend. Next, I also wanted to share this beautiful book, Studios of Their Own, Where Great Artists Work by Alex Johnson. I've shared before Alex Johnson's other book called Rooms of Their Own, which was about where writers work, and I just loved that book. So I was really excited when a companion to that one came out, focusing not on writers but on artists. And I've been dipping into this one and really enjoying it. I've learned some fascinating things about artists I admire, like Georgia O'Keeffe, for instance. I think Alex Johnson is always really clever at finding little details about artists and writers and their lives. And there was a really interesting bit about Georgia O'Keeffe's morning routine, for instance, which I never knew about. Again, it's beautifully illustrated. And if you know anyone who loves art and art history, then I think this would be an amazing gift. It also makes a lovely little coffee table book and would be a really fun one to just flick through over the Christmas holidays. Now, next up, I've got some books for people who love gardening as well as cooking. So for those who love gardening, I wanted to recommend A Year Full of Pots by Sarah Raven. This just came out earlier this year. I've been trying to plant a bit more in pots already. I bought my first bulbs this autumn and planted them, and I turned to Sarah Raven as my guide and help. And I really would love to have a few pots going and grow more over the next year. And this is a book that I've already been referring to and will keep referring to, and I've found it really useful. So for anyone who only has a small space in which to garden, or if you just want to garden more with pots, then this book I think would be really inspiring as well as practical and helpful. And then the next book I wanted to recommend for garden lovers is Where the Old Roses Grow by Janelle McCulloch. And this is all about Vita Sackville West and the battle for beauty during wartime. This is such an interesting topic for a book. It says, during the Second World War and in the decades after it, a group of rose lovers, including the writer and gardener Vita Sackville West, the florist Constance Spry, and the horticulturalist Graham Stewart Thomas, realized that heritage roses were becoming endangered. Fearing for their future, these rosarians began collecting rare old roses to save them from dying out while England's gardeners were away fighting on the front. Where the Old Roses Grow tells the extraordinary story of how they did this while the German bombers were scorching the skies, Hitler was advancing on their lives, and hope was being extinguished month by month. This is a book I can't wait to read myself. It just sounds so interesting. And for anyone who loves gardeners or who's interested in roses, the history of roses, Vita Sackville West, then I think this is a must read. So definitely a great one to put on your Christmas list or to gift to a rose lover. Now I've got some cookbooks, and it was really hard to narrow these down actually, because there have been lots of cookbooks that I've really enjoyed throughout the year, but I had to recommend Mary's Foolproof Dinners. This only came out quite recently, and I've already made so much from this cookbook. It's so good. I mean, I'm a huge Mary Berry fan always, but I'm really loving this latest cookbook by her. I also noticed that her new BBC series, which follows the recipes in this book, has just started. So that's my plan for the weekend, is to actually be able to watch a few of those episodes. But I love this new cookbook. Like I said, I've made lots of recipes from this already. Some standouts are the sardine pate, which is so simple but so yummy. And also the Black Forest cherry trifle. That's amazing. I've already made that twice. It's so good. But yeah, lots that I'm loving from this cookbook, so I really recommend it. And then if you're the kind of person who loves a cookbook that's just as good to read as it is to cook from, I really want to recommend The Art of Friday Night Dinner: Recipes for the Best Night of the Week by Eleanor Stiefel. This is such a great cookbook, but it's also so well written. Eleanor is an amazing food writer, and I really enjoy reading this book as well as cooking from it. There are some great recipes that I've enjoyed from this one too, and it's just a lot of fun, so one I really recommend. And then another pretty new cookbook, but one that I've been loving already, is Nadia Hussein's new cookbook, Cook Once, Eat Twice: Time-Saving Recipes to Help You Get Ahead in the Kitchen. I always love that idea. I always like time-saving recipes, and there are so many that I want to try and that I've already been enjoying trying from this cookbook. I made an incredible chocolate cake for a Halloween party that my neighbour threw, and I wanted to bring dessert. I made the chocolate cake that's in this cookbook, and it was amazing. So good. It's one I'm definitely going to be making again. And there are lots of other recipes that I can't wait to try in this one. So I've been really enjoying the recipes in this already. Now, another favourite cookbook writer of mine is Anna Jones, and I have to say I think this is my favourite cookbook of hers yet. That's Easy Wins: 12 flavour hits, 125 delicious recipes, 365 days of good cooking. There are so many quite simple but delicious and healthy recipes in this book. I've enjoyed making a lot from here, and yes, I think it's just my favourite Anna Jones cookbook to date. So one again that I really recommend. And then finally, I love this cookbook. I love the title and everything about it. Tuckin In, a very comforting cookbook by Sophie Wybird. This is such a great cookbook for celebrating comfort food and also meals that bring people together. I've made a lot of recipes from this one too this year, and I've loved all of them, and this is just a really lovely cozy kind of cookbook too, which I've been really enjoying. So again, one that I highly recommend. And then the next book is not a cookbook, but it is written by one of my very favorite cooks of all time, Dalton, and that's her memoir that was just published this year, Be Ready When the Luck Happens. I've started this one. I'm so enjoying it. My mum's almost finished it and she keeps telling me bits about it that she's reading ahead of me and sort of wanting me to read bits so that we can talk about it together. I think Dalton is such an inspiration, and it's been fascinating to learn more of her life, and this is definitely a book to get for any other Barefoot Contessa fans out there. So I'm really enjoying this one, and I think it'd be a lovely book to find under the tree for any Ina fans. And then finally, I wanted to share two gorgeous coffee table books. So the first one is Women Pioneers of the Arts and Craft Movement. This is a really stunning book. It's such an interesting topic for me. I love the arts and crafts, but I am so happy to have a book that highlight women artists from this period. That's so interesting to me, and this book is just absolutely stunning as well as fascinating. So if you're interested in female artists, the history of women in art, the arts and crafts movement, then I think this is a must buy, and it's just a gorgeous book, a wonderful one to put on your coffee table or to give as a very special gift at Christmas. I think this is stunning. And then my final book, another gorgeous coffee table book that is truly inspiring, and that is An English Vision by Ben Pentreath. For anyone who's an Anglophile, who loves British interior design, this is just an incredible book. It's stunning, of course. There's just amazing photography in this one. It really is full of inspiration, and I love Ben Pentreath's shops in London, and I love following him on social media, and his books are always stunning and just a delight to look through. So this is a massive book, but it is full of amazing photography and interior decor and design inspiration. So for any Ben Pentreath fans, this latest book by him is really incredible. But anyway, those are all of the books for my Christmas gift guide. Do remember to check the video description box for all of the relevant links, including links to all of the books that I've talked about today. I hope you found this video useful. Good luck with your holiday shopping, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. I'll actually be posting my video on Sunday again next week rather than Thursday. Just juggling my schedule at the moment is a little bit crazy, so the video is going to go up next Sunday rather than Thursday as usual next week. Thank you so much for watching this video. Extra big thanks as always to those of you who pressed the super thanks button on my last video. I always so appreciate your support, but thank you to everyone who supports my channel by watching my videos, pressing the like button, leaving a comment, subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you again next weekend. Goodbye.